Welcome back to the Better Than Best Academy, where we've created this community to grow and learn what wasn't taught in school but learned along the way, to share the story of the next generation of creative people that you may not know but you'll soon never forget. We I like to say it this way, we weekly have extraordinary conversations with interesting people, and with that said, today's guest is a current student at Lipscomb University. He's a DJ, a Christian rapper, a basketball trainer, even, who who tries to expose the lies of the devil and share the gospel in the modern rap world. It's jusTY. Now, Ty, what would make today's conversation extraordinary?
Um, if we could just, I don't know, what would make today's conversation extraordinary? That's a good question. Would be just a good conversation. Hopefully, it would be inspiring to others just to be confident in themselves, just like confident in who they are. That would be great.
Man, I love that. I love that. With that said, so the people watching my show, they're usually creative people. Some are
Yeah.
rappers, some are musicians. So we kind of go from that place.
Okay.
So I would love to hear kind of like your origin story. What got you into making music?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So, I mean, I've really been into music for pretty much my whole life, honestly. And just like mess around on GarageBand when I was younger, just like the typical stuff, nothing like too fancy. And then finally, when I was in college, I kind of like started getting into it. I bought Logic Pro, which is what I use right now, and so I just bought that, and then I was like, dang, I could like actually try to make music. You know what I mean? Like I could try to like go into this,
Yeah.
and so I started going into it and made one song. It's called "Let You Go." It's on my platforms right now still, and it was just like just a whatever. It wasn't even. It was just like a song. It was like kind of pop song, like hip hop. It wasn't like rap or Christian rap or anything like that. And then I was just making music just to make it. I didn't really have any like aspirations. Obviously, I wanted to like get big, like everyone does. But at first, I was just making music. It was just fun. I love doing it. And then, so later, someone's trying to call me. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm gonna X that out. So later, they ended up. Where'd you go? There you are. So later, I ended up talking to my cousin about it, who is at Lipscomb with me right now. And so he literally was like, dude, I really feel like you need to start like going in with your music. And we like talked about it. And I was like, that's really true because rappers nowadays, just like all the lies that they use and like all the stuff that they use to talk about, just like if you listen to any like modern non-Christian rap song, it's just all about just awful stuff. And everyone's so blind to it. You know what I mean? They'll just listen
Yeah.
to it
I get it.
when they're
Yeah.
working out. And then they'll fill their brain and they have no clue that they're getting filled with the devil's lies. And so that's really big for me is to just completely expose those lies with my kind of music. So that's like my inspiration right now is like what it's moved into.
I love that. I love that. Who would you say is one of your like biggest influences creatively?
Um, I would say Hovey. I don't know if you guys know any who that is. He's like kind of low key, but he's actually pretty big. Hulvy. Hovey is a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really good Christian rapper. I love him. So I would say he's inspiration. Obviously Flame, Lecrae, Andy Mineo, all of them back then when I used to listen to them, I loved
Mhm.
it. They obviously started it, but I think Hovey's like my inspiration right now. I would say.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned when I asked you what would make this a extraordinary conversation, you
Yeah.
mentioned inspiring people to be confident, and I
Uh-huh.
think you said confident in who they are. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, totally. So I actually was reading. I read it yesterday about. I don't remember the exact. I know it was in Hebrews. It's just like God, like His nature and His promises are never failing. Like they're gonna stay the same yesterday, today, and forever. And that needs to be our anchor, is what the Bible said. And that helped me a lot yesterday as well. But like what I'm talking about is like who can stop you when you're confident in who you are? You know what I mean? Like no one can stop you. Like if you're confident in who you are and you don't care what other people think, then you are going to do the best you can, and then the rest is God's, and he'll take that from you and just go crazy with it. You know what I mean? So just like a lot of people probably are just like this about what other people think, and I still do that. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm the perfect one, but it's just like it would be so healthy for people just to be confident in who they are and not care what other people think, because who would stop you when you're that confident? You know what I mean? Nothing can stop
I love that. What is one, I guess, tip? Yeah, we'll say it that way. What is one tip that you would say to someone that may be dealing with like
you.
maybe
Yeah.
like the lack of confidence and the
Mm-hmm.
comparing what people are saying about them?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question, or that's a great thing to ask. I would say when it comes to like a tip to give someone, obviously you have to like stay in the word. You have to keep a relationship with Jesus Christ, because like that's up like foremost the biggest one. I don't know if this is like a I don't know if these are like Christian creators or whatever listen to me, but like if you're listening, it's like really huge to like if you're a Christian to go after God first, because he's the only one who
Yeah.
can give you what you want ultimately. And then I would also say, um, what was the like exact question that you said? I'm sorry. It was like one tip to help others.
Yeah, a tip to help others that are dealing with, like lack of
Yeah,
confidence or
yeah,
even facing criticism, because I know you
yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
that as
I
well.
totally, yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, so I would say honestly, it just goes right back to the confidence. It's just like if people are criticizing you, but you're confident that you're doing the right thing and you're making music like for God, or even just making music and confident in your own music, not even in a Christian standpoint. If you're confident in your music, it's just like you can kind of drown out the haters, as you could say, or whatever. You could just drown them out and just be like, I don't care what they say, you know. And just once you're confident in yourself, you start making better music and writing better, and everything just ends up flowing together better, if that makes sense.
I love that. I love that. And to kind of piggyback off of this, I'm sure I'm a former Christian rapper myself, so I totally I understand
That's
definitely
awesome.
going into the wild, and I have plenty of stories I could share of
Yeah.
going into different open mics and crazy bar settings and just
Uh-huh. Exactly.
seeing God move in miraculous way, and I love that, and I love to hear another young Christian rapper doing it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, and I've heard a little bit of your music, and it's solid. We'll definitely
Thank you. I appreciate it.
link all your stuff in the description.
Awesome.
We'll start early and mention that, if you
Perfect.
want to hear his music and you're already vibing with some of his story, you'll see his information in the description. But with that idea, and I can relate to this, is when you're going metaphorically into the wild and
Yeah.
you're reaching the lost with music, especially rap music, I'm sure a lot of people tend to almost misunderstand you. So, what do you think people misunderstand about you the most?
Oh, what people misunderstand about me the most, like just like my rapper like
In
self
general, just in
in
general. Yeah.
general. Um, hmm, that's a great question. I would say what most people you said misinterpret, right?
Misunderstand.
Misunderstand. Okay, yeah. What most people misunderstand about me, shoot, that's a great question. I'm thinking about it right now. What would they
Yeah. Take,
misunderstand?
take your time.
I got you. I would think maybe if I mean if anything, it would be um sometimes like they could probably get too caught up like in the beat or in the flow of the song, like the melody or like how cool it sounds, quote unquote, and like kind of miss what I'm actually saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like they could just like completely miss out on the gospel when because they're listening to like how good it sounds, or like what kind of beat I'm rapping over. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
But also that could be a blessing at the same time, because like if they like the beat so much, then my words are still like subconsciously going into their brain no matter what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if they don't understand exactly what it means. And so, yeah, that would be a big misunderstanding, but also like that could be a blessing as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I get that. That was a solid answer. So, how long have you been rapping again?
So I started making music about a year and a half ago.
Gotcha. So you're still
Hmm.
pretty fresh in the game.
Very new, yeah.
I love that. And I've seen some of your posts, and you said that you've been doing, I guess, some small shows around your local campus.
Yeah, I did one of them. I did one thing on campus, like a few. It was like last week or something. It was a blast.
That's awesome. How did that go?
It was so fun, dude. I loved it. I did. So I'm also a DJ as well. So I kind of did like a couple of my like I did a handful of my like original songs and just like rapped them like a concert. But then I also did some like DJ stuff where I just like played other music and like just people went crazy. It was so fun.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah, it
awesome.
was a blast.
So it mentioned on, I think it was your bio, that you're a basketball trainer. Is that it?
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
so you play basketball yourself, or
I did. I used to play basketball, but I'm actually is what we're called student coaches technically
gotcha.
at Lipscomb. So just like basketball managers, basically, if
Oh,
you ever heard that phrase.
that's cool.
So it's just like laundry, helping out the coaches like with during practice, like cutting up film or whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just basically anything the coaches need. It's just like an entryway into like if you want to go into sports, something like that one day, which is what I want to do as well.
Gotcha. That's awesome. How do you think? Because obviously, I mean, growing up, even sports world and the music world, it's like rappers want to be NBA
Yeah.
stars,
Yeah,
NBA stars want to
exactly.
be rappers. What do you think it is that you've learned along your connection with sports that you bring into your music world?
Oh, that's really good. Um, one thing, honestly, I keep going back to it, but one thing I would say is confidence, like again, like because it just keeps coming up because I feel like it's just so important in my life as well, is just like because like when I'm on the court and I'm like helping people out or like working them out or trying to be just like who I am, like next to the basketball team, because sometimes you could be like, oh, I gotta be cool, you know what I mean? I gotta like act like they act, you know what I mean? So sometimes that could like get in the way of like you being yourself and like people liking you for who you are. And so that really translates into the microphone because like you it's I'm trying to explain it. It's like when you're like rapping or into a microphone and like you really like feel confident and you feel like you're yourself instead of like trying to sound like this certain sound and keep redoing it. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that didn't sound perfect. Redo it. But when you just like rap and are confident in yourself and like, this is like who I am, this is my sound. And then you do it just like when you're on the basketball court. This is like, this is who I am. I'm just gonna like be super energetic and like clap all the time, like yell and scream, like be the energy guy and not care what other people think about me. You know what I mean? And like that's the same way when it comes into music. Is just like there's obviously gonna be people who are like haters or like the other side. You know what I mean? There's obviously gonna be people like that, but the key is just to be confident in who you are and just like do your best. Like there's no such thing as like winning and losing. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like my parents used to say it's just like there's winning and learning. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so you don't win and lose, you win and learn. And just as long as you do your best and go as hard as you can, whether that be managing on a basketball team or rapping, then just give the rest to God and like the results like have nothing to do with you as long as you do your best.
man. Come on, dropping gems. I love that. So some things that I'd like to pull out of even what you just said there was that, so for those that don't know, I had a
Yeah.
rap career from 2008 till 2018. got to open up for Colton Dixon, yada yada. I could
That's
whatever. I'm
crazy.
not even there to name drop, but I had a fairly solid rap career up until God kind of transitioned me into other things. I'm a worship drummer for my church now, but in that career, definitely early in that career, I fell into that trap of trying to be, because before I started making Christian rap, I was just rapping. Because I mean, I fell in love with rap at an early age, and I was like, man, Lil Wayne, I'm gonna be the next Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
I'll be the next Drake. 'Cause that's like when they first hit the scene. So I was like all in for that. But yeah, I definitely fell into this space of finding my identity in what I was doing, and it took me growing in my faith and really feeling like God was moving me into another space and moving me away from rap, that I honestly had like an identity crisis. And I was
Yeah.
like, who am I? Because we get so tied into what we do. And when our confidence is in what we do and not who we are, then what we do is lacking,
That's really
especially
good.
if whatever circumstance happens. And
Yeah.
boom, you're left with, you don't do what you've always done, so then you're like, who am I? And that's so important for those listening or watching at home. Is it's like you even mentioned earlier, like if we have to be so deep rooted in Christ, like we have
Yeah.
to know that our identity, know that we know without a shadow of a doubt who we are, because especially when we're making creativity, we're making art, we're not going to make it at the level that we could until we realize who we are. And I
Yeah.
was talking to a young producer actually before we had this call, and I was just kind of reminding him of that, because it's so easy to get into these spaces. And it goes back to what you said, is like, know who you are with confidence and do your best. And I
Yeah.
love the creative team at my local church. We always say, like, show up and do your creative best. And it's
Yeah.
that idea of, if you're partnering with God in something, and yeah, we can totally make this as churchy and as Christian as we want, by the way, because I have people that both, and this is another
Yeah. Yeah.
of outreach for me. So I'm definitely fine with leaning into the
Yeah.
faith side of it, and definitely seeing what God's wanting to say in the conversation. But I really feel like that idea of who we are is so valuable, and bringing our best. And our best isn't going to look like the person next to us. And that's, I think, the hardest thing that we get into, that comparison trap, because we look at you said, like, picture the person you're most influenced by in
Hmm.
music, and you're seeing his like hottest song, and you could be like, man, mine's not there yet. but
Exactly.
but y'all are at different stages in the game. And it's just that idea for those listening at home. It's just, you got to really nail down and realize that your identity is not what you do. It's who you are and whose you
Yeah.
are. I always like that quote that says, we're not human doings, for human beings.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I always love that idea. But man, so it sounds like you've got such a grasp on confidence even this early in the game, and I want to commend you for that and really encourage you for that. And that's another reason that I've started this podcast, is if I see someone crushing it, I'm gonna give them their flowers, and right there in the moment, because I think that that's so important. We need
Yeah. Thank
that
you. Appreciate it.
encouragement and that community to really build us up. And if you aren't following him, you better go follow him. You better go stream all his music, because he's out here trying to make a difference. And with that said, I'd like to ask you that question. So what is your ultimate goal? Like Simon Sinek says, like, what is your why? So what is
Yeah.
your why behind your music?
Um, my why will obviously like of just like the world, not like when it comes to like the like music side of my why, it would be obviously I want to go on tour and just like go on tour and just like spread the gospel. And like obviously the biggest why would be like to spread the gospel because like that's what we're called to do. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest why is just like share the gospel because this is like since it seems like it's just natural for me like to like rap and make music is just like the easiest way for me to share the gospel. And it is super easy because like I know how to do it. You know what I mean? And I can and my music could get played everywhere and it's just like just through a little phone someone could hear the gospel, so that's super easy. That's my biggest why would be just sharing the gospel. And then obviously another why would be just like going on tour, going around just like huge places and just like rapping, which would be just so fun. You know what I mean? On the big stages. Obviously, that would be a lot of fun, but the ultimate goal is like sharing the gospel.
I love that. I love that. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask this question, and it's a little more future focused. Now, obviously, we're gonna have plenty of people that are probably gonna do this same experiment at home,
Yeah.
but with your permission, I'd like to try this little experiment. But it's what I like to call the holy cow experiment, and it's that idea of like, so say we bump into each other 3 years from now.
Yeah.
So we've been cool, we've exchanged contacts, we've been friends for whatever it may be,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's 3 years from now. It's 2025. You bump into me, maybe you're back on my show, and what would it take for you to say, "Holy cow, Red! Like my life is amazing. Like the
Yeah.
music's taken off, the sports side of my life's taken off, my faith, my personal life. What would it be that's happened in the past 3 years to
Yeah.
make you say that?"
That's a really good question. I would say it would just be like obviously keep getting into the word every morning, but just keep learning. Like never stop learning. Like our coach says, he's like, um, I forgot what the exact quote was, but it was just like, you're never done learning. Like literally, there's like you can think you know everything, but you never will. And so you can just keep learning. I feel like that would be really big for me. It's just like literally just keep learning. Just like keep reading the Bible, keep going into God, keep listening to all sorts of audiobooks, keep like figuring out like how to get better at music, you know what I mean? And like keep reaching out to people, keep like finding opportunities, you know what I mean? So keep learning and finding opportunities. I feel like those would be just like really big, just like being good with people as well is huge. So holy cow, my holy cow would probably be like keep constantly learning, just like be vulnerable with that. Like don't think I know everything would be one. Other one would be just like be really good with people. And then the third one would just be I forgot what I said. I just said it, but it was just like learning, being good with people, and then just keep on asking questions and just like never think I have it all. You know what I mean? I feel like that would help a lot.
That's solid. Okay. So to further that question,
Yeah.
where do you see yourself in 3 years?
See myself. I don't know.
What have you
It all
done? What have you
depends.
accomplished?
Yeah, exactly. It all depends. Honestly, I have no clue where I would live. No, to be honest with you, like either Nashville or probably I'd go home to Charlotte, even if anything happened like that. But maybe Charlotte, North Carolina, maybe here in Nashville. But I would see myself um doing PT, like personal training for basketball, probably just like having clients and stuff, like whether it's little kids or like college kids, anything like that. Hopefully, making money doing that. I could see myself also making music, hopefully signed with someone by that time, like a label or something like that. Um, here in Nashville, and then yeah. So just like record label, and just personal training people every week, and then hopefully have some sort of cash flow because my dad's all into that because he's like a business guy. So
Yeah.
hopefully have tons of cash flow coming in from um this idea I have about like personal training, but it's online and it's just like people pay monthly to like get on my program or whatever. So that's what I would love to happen in 3 years.
Okay. Okay. I see you with the business mind. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Okay. So with this going with this theme, what do you think? What are the dangers that are in your way that might be holding you back or preventing you from living that life?
Dangers in my way. I would say obviously fear could get in the way of just like because like obviously confidence is huge, so like fear could get in the way of like what other people think about me or anything like that. I feel like laziness could also get in the way because I feel like sometimes like if I'm not really on top of myself I become pretty lazy, so I feel like that could really get in the way of me like staying on top of my basketball managing or staying on top of my music making, trying to release stuff. So yeah, just like letting my fear take over, just like seeing like Peter like looking at the waves, you know what I mean, instead of looking at Jesus.
For sure.
That could get in the way, or just laziness could get in the way. I just have to start like keep staying on top of myself.
Yeah. All right, now here's the other side, Ty. What about the opportunities? Like, what are the things that could actually help you fly in the next 3 years?
I feel like stuff like this what helps a lot too is like just getting my name out there, just talking to you. And I appreciate you having me on this podcast. This is awesome. And so that's huge. Just taking every opportunity I can get and also being really personable with people. Because my dad also says it's not what you know, it's who you know.
For sure.
So knowing people is really big. So getting to know people, being really personable, being like not like being a jerk or whatever to people, just like being a good guy to people. And that also goes into play with like having a good relationship with Jesus, because
Yeah,
that
for sure.
like you're gonna be nice to people no matter what, you know what I mean? So those are huge. Just like personable, good relationship with Jesus, and then just finding and going after every opportunity I can.
I love it. What are your strengths? What makes you special?
Um, just energy, I guess. Just a lot of energy, constant energy. Just like fun, but like also that could be a curse as well. Is like trying to figure out when to tone it down. You know what I mean? But energy, just joy the Lord is my strength. I always that's like what has always been in my head, like that. Joy the Lord is my strength. And just like I feel like I am like being better at being personable with people. Just like because I used to be like pretty shy, I'm not gonna lie. And then I just yeah, ever since it's just like confidence, it goes into confidence like everything does that I've been saying literally. But yeah, like once I'm confident in myself, I feel like that also helps a lot with my strengths, which obviously I'm still working on it big time because nobody's perfect. But confidence would also when I'm in the right mind of confidence, that is also a very big strength for me, I feel like.
I love that, man. That's great. And
Thank you.
I had another question, but you kind of already answered it. And it's the flip side of our strengths. Like, what's the dark side of your strength?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the dark side would obviously be so like if it's confidence, it would be fear. Fear could be a very big um struggle of mine, and it is obviously. So big thing is just like reading the Bible, and like what I talked about, what I read yesterday is just like since God's nature and his promises are my anchor, like that's it. You know what I mean? There's like no more questions about it. You know what I mean? So like when the devil tries to sneak anything into my head, I just have to rebuke it, get it out of there, because I am Christ is my firm foundation, as the Maverick City
Yeah,
song says. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So that's huge for me. And then the other strength was like being personable. So yeah, just letting fear get in the way with that as well, and just like scared of what people say about me, and then just not going up to talk to them or not like reaching out to them. So that could also play into that weakness as well.
I love that. While still being in this like future mindset, this
Yeah,
headspace.
yeah,
I really like this question. All right, so picture you're 95 years old or 100,
yeah.
120, whatever. You're at the end of your life. What is one thing that you would want to be remembered for?
um Dang. One thing I would want to be remembered for is just being like, I don't know why it just randomly popped in my head, but like the Billy Graham of music is
Nice.
just like everyone knows who I am like because of Christ. You know what I mean? So just like that would be so cool. It's just like fulfilling my complete calling, and like the whole world knows who Jesus is just because like me and you and everyone and like people like us inspire others to
Yeah,
be the best they can be,
yeah, for
and
sure.
then to like just keep moving forward and getting bigger and bigger, and then letting God do the rest. I feel like that's what I would love to be known for.
I love that. I love that. Man, I'm really enjoying this conversation, and I appreciate you for doing the experiment of the 3 years. I
Yeah,
hope
thank
everyone
you. That's
the
really
holy
cool.
cow experiment. I hope
It's
everyone
so
does
cool.
that at home, and I think that's a really great way to keep us future focused because it's really
Yeah,
easy for
exactly.
us to get stuck in either what we don't see yet in the present or what we don't or what we've seen in the past,
Yeah,
and I always look at it, it's like, I mean, in scripture it says, write the vision, make it plain, as the man thinks, so is he. And like you can go on and on, scripture after scripture, on the fact that like we really have the ability to create our world.
yeah,
And if you're coming from a place where you're bringing people to God, then I feel like you don't miss, right? But to think more on a more practical side of the creativity to give to people at home, I try to balance it with the spiritual and
yeah,
like
yeah.
you said, and the practical. What is your current what inspires your creative process?
Um, Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I watch just like YouTube videos or anything like that, when I'm watching other people in their flow
Yeah.
state, like in their creative mindset, like I'll watch sometimes I'll watch John Bellion making music. And I know he's not like a good Christian guy. He's really worldly,
Yeah.
but he is just unbelievable. Like watching him make his music and like just like get into the flow and like you
Oh
can see
yeah.
him like move his head and like
Wild.
have his headphones and it's just so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love Justin Bieber as well. It's like kind of
Yeah.
controversial topic, but I do love Justin Bieber and watching him just like record and like live his life and just the way he like makes music is just crazy. And so like whenever I watch stuff like that or like watch Holvy's videos because like he'll come out with some YouTube
Yeah.
stuff every once in a while. Yeah, so that's what inspires my creativity is watching others like be amazing at what they do, and then that inspires me as well. And then also like sometimes like a good amount sometimes I'll like whenever I read the Bible in the morning and like read my Bible and pray and I'm just like thinking, and then when I'm just sitting there I'm thinking and I'm praying and then I'll just like get super inspired and then just hop on the computer and start making music. You know what I mean? So it's those two things.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, man. So good. I'm just taking a moment. That's good. That's good. Is there anything you would want to ask me? Kind of flip it on its head.
Yeah, that was so cool. You said how did why did you stop making music? Because you went into like this kind of thing, like this podcasting stuff.
It kind of it started, man, what a question. Okay, so backtrack to where we were. 2008, I started rapping. I
How'd you get into that?
So I got really inspired by Lil Wayne, and I had moved from my hometown to like 45 minutes. No, it wasn't 40 minutes. It's like 2 hours away from my hometown. So
Yeah,
like my sophomore year of high school. So right before my sophomore year. And when I moved, I'm always been kind of an introverted guy, just
yeah,
really into music, real creative, but not like I love conversations with people, but it's
yeah,
like the crowd thing, not my thing. I'm out unless I'm like on stage speaking or rapping.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so it got to a space where like we moved to a new town and I didn't have really any outlet. So I had this old beat up Dell laptop and like I started at first I was like burning CDs, like LimeWire, downloading illegally, awful. All this music and like burning CDs, and that's kind of where the entrepreneur in me started. I was like, I sell you these MP3
Yeah.
CDs of like thousands of songs. You kids at home probably don't even know what a CD is, but anyways, so I started rapping, and yeah, it was one of those things where it was like an outlet for me. Like I was like, I loved music, so I was like, let me just start making music, and it was awful. I had Audacity. I had Audacity, the DAW, and then I had a Rock Band mic because it was a USB,
That's hilarious.
and I just started with what I had, but I was so determined. Like I just I came alive making music, and I just loved
Yeah,
the
exactly.
wordplay. Like I was so impressed by, obviously Eminem. Like we were all inspired by the greats, but like Eminem, Lil Wayne, Drake, all those people. But even like KJ52,
Oh,
if
I love
y'all
him.
know,
Yeah,
like KJ, Lecrae, like Andy
of
Minnie, all those
course.
guys. Further in my progress, and then it was around 2011. I saw a kind of local guy at the church that I'm now very a part of. He came and performed, and it was like the first time I had experienced like Christian rap that way, experienced the Holy Spirit. Then I didn't realize what was going on, but
Yeah.
like it just lit like an even bigger fire under me to like keep rapping. And I mean, through all this, I mean, I'm rapping. Everyone's making fun of me because I'm at like this little country town in Texas, and like, oh, you rap? That's cute.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but whatever it was that made me really go after it. So I have this solid, I mean, fairly decent rap career. I got a connection closer to Dallas where I was doing a few like, it was called paid to play. So basically, like you sell a X amount of tickets and you get a like 10-15 minute set. So you get to
Yeah.
go. And, but it's like pretty much like the artists and their families. That's who come to these. They're like five fans. So
Yeah.
they were like, like right at the bottom. Like you see all the memes of like people rapping in front of like 10, 15 people. It was
Yeah.
definitely those moments. And I'm in there just like unashamed, just preaching through
Yeah,
music
exactly.
and just, I mean, loving that. And then a friend of mine was like a concert promoter. So he got the connection for me to open up for Colton Dixon. So, I mean, and this is like me super condensing this. But I still have a various amount of songs on Spotify. If you know where
That's
to
so
look, you'll
cool.
find them. But yeah, so in 2018, which I had been working for a ministry that was on YouTube, and Daystar, and I learned video editing and all that stuff. So that's what I was doing for 4 years. But it was in that time that I was like, I mean, I'm just going after God, trying to make this rap career happen, and various different um words were spoken over me, and it was just like, God's gonna, because my rap name was Redone. And one in particular was actually my pastor, and he just felt like the Lord was saying like God's about to, she actually felt like the Lord was saying like God's about to redo redone. And I was like, what does that even mean? And then I kept praying on it, and I just felt this thing of God was like saying, can you lay down music? Like you're rapping about me and you're making a difference, but can are you willing to sacrifice it all for me?
Dang.
And I was like, well, I guess we're gonna find out. So like I gave up rapping, and I mean I was involved in a ton of stuff. Like I started
Yeah,
playing drums for my church. I was helping with the youth. I was working full time. Like I had plenty of things on my plate, but like rap definitely still was like that was the dream. So for me to hear that was like it was crushing. But for whatever reason, I was like, no, I need to trust God on this. And I mean, I haven't looked back since. Like there definitely was like a little period in the beginning when I was like, I'm not a rapper anymore. And it's not that I won't like rap for fun, but as far as like fully trying to make it
yeah.
a career, it was just something that was time. The Lord was just helping me say, it's time to
Okay.
put it down. And while doing that, I mean, like I've seen myself flourish in other areas. Like I got a lot more committed to playing drums and playing with my worship team. I was able to be
That's so cool.
part of the writing process because I mean I've been writing all these rap songs, so now I'm like, so I've learned all these different steps there, but it's crazy because it's like it's like the thing that you think defines you, but now as God's kind of navigated me into, I mean, it's coaching, but I know sometimes people get the whole like mindset life coach that gets a bad rap. So I don't
Yeah.
necessarily try to wear the label too much. But I mean, essentially, I'm mentoring and discipling people one on one, especially people in this creative space, because I know what it's like to be making music, especially in like the Christian space, like making music for God but still like battling with your own identity and
Yeah.
like who you are more so than what you do.
Mhm.
And that's just been a big thing for me in that journey since 2018. But yeah, man, I appreciate
Awesome.
you
That is so
asking
cool.
that question. I haven't really got to share that much on the
Yeah.
podcast yet, so I appreciate you for asking my story. I definitely don't make it too much about me because I'm here to help the younger artist.
Gotcha.
But let's see. Do I have any final questions for you? But yeah, I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Oh yeah, thank you. This was awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool that we connected. It's so funny,
Yeah, it is.
like, because even to bring it back to the podcast is I want to say I started the podcast in 17 or 18, and it was just like solo, just audio,
Yeah.
because I was like I'd write out my things because I want to have my thoughts
Yeah, yeah,
planned
yeah.
out. But even then, I'd like say it all over like instrumentals because I was like, I still gotta have that music element.
Yeah, exactly.
Then sometimes it would become spoken word. It got a little weird sometimes, but it was like I did motivational Mondays, where it's like I just kind of gave that encouraging Bible based word that was
Yeah,
like 5 to 10 minutes long, and
that's
I've been
cool.
doing that for a while. Life happened, couldn't make it as much as I could, and then recently I've kind of rebranded it to doing interviews like this. And you're,
Okay.
I think, the fourth or fifth interview I've done.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been really cool to start that because as I've had the career I've had and the life experiences I've had, it's now I feel like part of my duty. Oh man, someone's honking at you, honking at somebody.
Someone's going crazy.
Man, that's wild. But yeah, just given that space for the future, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
And I
That's so
definitely,
cool.
yeah,
That's so cool. Are you
appreciate
willing to
that.
lay it down?
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't easy, and it definitely was. But it's really cool because the ministry I was working for at the time, she is really big on like going after your dreams and vision boards and how you can line like the Bible lines up with like God's calling us to a purpose, and it's so much bigger than we may think. But one thing in particular she would always say is that someone's miracle is waiting on the other side of your obedience. And that always stuck with me. And even to me having to be obedient enough to lay something down that I thought was the end all be all is actually the way that I'm finding like the true purpose behind it all.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Because
so cool.
the true purpose for me is, similar to you, getting the gospel to all nations, making disciples, but really walking that out with people on the most practical and even the most spiritual sense. But man,
Yeah,
I
that's
appreciate
so
you,
good.
Ty. I'm gonna go ahead and close out the recording, and then we can talk a little bit before we wrap up. But
Sweet.
you have any final words for the people watching and listening at home?
No, that was awesome. I really do appreciate it. That is so cool. I love it.
For sure,
Just
for
stay
sure.
yeah, just keep staying confident. Confident in who you are, confident in
Yeah,
God, because God's your foundation. There's nothing this earth can do when you're built on the rock. You know what I mean?
that's
No
awesome.
sand. Keep the sand away.
That's right, man. I love it. Thanks again, Ty, and you
Yes,
listening.
sir.
As I always say and wrap it up, I'm praying for you. I love you. Now let's go live better than best as we conquer this week.